The September 11 Victims Compensation Fund, set aside for the some 45,000 9/11 first responders and their survivors who are now suffering from respiratory illnesses and rare cancers, is rapidly running out of money. And those brave men and women who worked at the pit in the days and months that followed the terror attack are running out of time. But there is hope for more funds to be made available. A new bipartisan bill called the Never Forget the Heroes Act was recently introduced. It would, if passed, replenish the fund. The question, though, is, will it pass the House and the Senate? Humorist and activist Jon Stewart, first responders, victims, and advocates went to Washington recently to take their case to Congress, and MetroFocus went with them.
You have these men and women whose humanity is on the line, whose families are on the line, they're not going to be with us next time. They're not going to be here.
My father actually passed away from lung cancer. Well, it started off as bladder cancer and turned into lung cancer in 2017. He was FDNY, first responder. It burned through him in 6 months.
The EPA has said that there were 160 different toxins in the air. So besides the asbestos, there was pulverized glass. There was benzene. We didn't find one computer. We didn't find one telephone. So all the wiring, all the metals from that. We didn't find a piece of glass, and those buildings were sheeted in glass.
I came here from California.
Thank you for coming.
I was a student at a high school in Lower Manhattan that went back less than a month after the attacks to a contaminated building located next to a barge that they were bringing debris to day after day and dumping it next to our school's air intake system. We're just now starting to see a spike in serious illness among our group, and that is happening just as the VCF is about to expire.
I'm actually the third guy to come down here in this wheelchair. It's been passed down to me. The two previous guys have since died.
And these are stoic individuals. These are not people that are prone to woe is me. Like, they're some of the most steadfast individuals that I've met. And they suffer in a way that they shouldn't be made to suffer.
Joining us now to provide us with some insight and some personal perspectives are Robert Talarcio and Bridget Gormley, children of two of the firefighters who died of 9/11 related illnesses. And along with them, attorney Michael Barish, who is representing many of the victims and their families and has been for a long time now. Welcome to all three of you. We appreciate
Thank you for having us.
And talking a little bit. I want to get to the two of you and your personal stories in a moment. But Michael, let me start with you. I suspect that most people are aware that there is a fund in existence, but I also suspect they probably don't know its history.
Right.
Give me a capsulization, if you will, of the fund's history and where we are now with it.
In 2001, just a few days after 9/11, Congress passed the Victim Compensation Fund, offering compensation to those who died in the planes and in the buildings. They didn't want people suing and bankrupting the airlines. That fund was enormously successful, but it ended in 2003.
And I think, again, that's one of the things where people probably did not realize you were talking about such a short window.
That's right. That's right. But I think 95% of the people who lost loved ones took advantage of the funds so they wouldn't have to go through litigation, and they got a fair award from the government. I do need to give you some context here. If you may remember, the EPA assured everyone the air is safe.
Safe
they
to
wanted
breathe.
to reopen Wall Street. They wanted people to do the debris cleanup, and they did. And as a matter of fact, in that opening that you showed, Lila from the high school nearby, her high school was reopened in 3 weeks, and yet they used it as a morgue for the 3 weeks before they reopened Stuyvesant High School. My law firm now represents 25 kids from Stuyvesant High School and Pace University who have cancer. I mean, it's truly horrifying. But in any case, Congress then did the right thing. And in 2011, they passed the James Zedroga Health and Compensation Act. It was named after my client, Detective Zedroga. When he died of pulmonary fibrosis, they found in his lung tissue ground glass, asbestos, chromium, lead, benzene. These are all known carcinogens. And in 2013, Congress, following the edict of NIOSH, linked 68 cancers to the toxins. And in 2015, they reauthorized the Victim Compensation Fund, but it is set to expire at the end of 2020. The problem is so many people, like their fathers, have been getting cancer and dying that they are simply running out of money.
I want to come back to you in a minute, and let's talk about why there's been such a significant uptick in the claimants and what we're finding in terms of the medical conditions. But let me talk to the two of you, and Bridget, you first. This is all about family members. It's all about friends. It's all about people who have suffered as a consequence of this. Tell me about your father?
My father was, his name is Billy Gormley, and he was a first responder firefighter, FDNY. And his company was actually the first to arrive right after the towers had fell, so he went into the thick of it. He went down there on 9/11, so he stayed there until about Christmas time with the cleanup. I didn't see him very often. He came home, showered, slept, went back. Came home, showered, slept, went back. And I saw what he was covered in when he came home. I remember the smell of it, too, as a kid.
But never any reservation about going back?
No, he always went back. And in retrospect, if he was still here today, knowing what he would go through, he'd do it again. I think a lot of guys would. I don't think you would hear that. They wouldn't.
And then tell me about his diagnosis.
So he was diagnosed Christmas 2016 with bladder cancer. And then he went the course of treatment from January to April. And then in May, he got really sick. And then in June, he passed away.
Yeah, so an astonishingly fast.
It burned through him very quickly, in 6 months.
Rob, how about you? Tell me about your dad.
My father was a firefighter also. He was from Engine 266 in Rockaway Beach, and he responded to Ground Zero on 9/11 as well. And when he responded that day, he never thought it would be, it would affect him years down the line, 10, 20 years down the line. My father was diagnosed with brain cancer in the spring of 2015. And then he passed away in the fall of 2017, October 25th. And, he was 58 years old. So, he was a healthy guy, and you never thought that, something like this would happen. But then when you look back and you realize that, he was on the pile for so many weeks and months after 9/11, returning back there, that he didn't have the proper respirator or anything like that for asbestos and lead and all the other pulverized stuff that was in the air. And sadly, it took his life, so.
Michael, let me come back to you now. We talk about the fund running out of money. And some folks might say, well, we're getting close to 20 years since that horrible day and the horrible consequences. And they might say, why are there more claimants showing up now? What's the answer to that?
Well, the doctors are not surprised. We as lay people are surprised. But if you think about it, and I'm sure you were down there too covering the story, Jack, the smell, as Bridget said, it reeked down there. And notwithstanding what the EPA said about the air being safe, we knew it wasn't safe. But they wanted to reopen Wall Street, so my law firm reopened. They wanted to reopen the high schools and everything else to show everybody, oh, we're going away, we're going around all this, we're going to get through this, we're back to normal. Well, the doctors are seeing exactly what they expected now, which are not only cancers, but cancers on steroids. Really rare, aggressive cancers, and people who have multiple cancers. And that's why not a day goes by without one of my clients passing away. It's that serious. And as a result, the fund, which really has been operating very, very well, they just don't have enough money. And that's why they recently announced these cuts of 50% and 70%, which is so unfair. But I understand it. They've got to make these funds last. But that's why we were in Washington. It's why we're going back to Washington, because we've got to convince Congress to do the right thing and fulfill its moral obligation and pass and extend this fund.
I want to get to the bill in a second. I want all of your thoughts on it. But let me come back to something you mentioned, and that is that the doctors understand this, at least now. I mean, what people were not realizing is, everything that had to have been in the air, everything that was incinerated in those buildings was in the air.
They didn't find one phone or one computer. They only found 1/3 of the people. All that stuff, as Rob said, was pulverized. So people were breathing this toxic dust that had the pH level of Drano. And that's why we're seeing skin cancer elevated 33% compared to pre-9/11. We're seeing rampant breast cancer among women and prostate cancer among men. And as I mentioned, 68 cancers altogether, plus many respiratory problems.
Was there resistance, at least initially, to including all of these? You're talking about 68 cancers. Some of it probably have never been seen in this vicinity.
That's right.
In recent memory. Was there resistance initially to saying to people, okay, we're going to recognize that that's a consequence of this, and we were going to bring you into our fold, if you will?
Well, at the beginning, no cancers were linked. At the beginning, they just said it's just going to be respiratory problems, reactive airways disease, asthma, sleep apnea. But then the fire department medical office began to see this big uptick between 19% and 32% in all these cancers. And that was the evidence that NIOSH needed. And then finally in 2013 and 14, that's when they added these cancers.
Tell me about the proposed legislation. What would it do?
It would fund the victim compensation fund for the rest of everybody's life so that if and when people get cancers in the future, they will be covered. If they lose their career because they can't work as a result of their cancer, they will be covered. And it's just the right thing to do.
So no ceiling? No
ending at all, because right now the health program has been rightfully extended to the rest of everybody's life. Why shouldn't the victim compensation fund?
Talk about the visit down to Washington, right? Bridget, you first. What were you all hoping to accomplish, and what did you experience down there?
I think one of the biggest issues for people that are outside of the tri-state area is that they think it's a New York problem.
Yeah.
So we're going into all these Midwestern Congress and Representatives' office, and you have to convince them that you have to tell them that they have X amount of people in their district that are in the program.
Are they surprised sometimes?
Sometimes they are. I would say so, right? I mean,
I think I saw a statistic. I might be wrong, but that there is some victim in every congressional district except one in the United States.
We don't know which one it is, but still, that's impressive, though. I mean, not impressive. It's let it speak for itself.
Yeah.
So it's a national issue. I think you have to convince them of that. And these people also, these politicians, they are the biggest flag wavers sometimes. Never forget posting and tweeting.
Yeah, especially on 9/11.
On 9/11, posting and tweeting, and then when you go in there looking for help, they conveniently forget. You know, never forget. It's a loose term.
I mean, it's sad that you even have to go down there. Like my father, he took about a dozen trips down to Washington, D.C. himself before he was even sick, and the last 2 times were in a wheelchair that he went down there. Just the fact that he has to go down there with the terminal cancer to convince congressmen to extend this bill is so disheartening, you know. We saw a guy that had less than 6 months to live that was down there with a terminal cancer, basically, that was in D.C. last time. And, you know, if that doesn't speak to itself, I mean, I don't know what else could. The fact that people have to go down there and fight for their benefits to make sure that their families will be taken care of. You know, as my family has a pending claim, many other people have pending claims that are now cut in half or will receive only 30% of what other families did, and it's just not fair, you know? The government set up this fund so that people would not bring forth lawsuits, and now here they are, and it's like a slap in the face that you're going to get 30 or 50%. And, you know, there's no amount of money at the end of the day that'll bring my father back, but, you know, just knowing that my family is taken care of is what matters most and what my father would want to see. So,
did you find, Bridget, in talking with these folks, and again, it's, you know, we've heard some people think that it's sort of a regional issue as opposed to a national issue. Did you find that you were able to change minds?
Yeah, but it took more shaming than I thought was necessary.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit of, you got to back them into a corner.
And you know, if I can add one thing here, this is not a Democrat or Republican issue.
Oh,
this was incredibly Democratic toxic dust. Didn't care if you were white, black, Jewish, Catholic, Muslim. Everybody was exposed to the same toxins. Our government lied to us at first, then they did the right thing. They made us a pledge. Now we are asking, just fulfill that pledge and take care of these families.
What do you think the prospects are?
I think they're good. I don't know how any politician can look in the mirror after meeting kids like this, or young adults, sorry, and tell our first responders, hey, we made you a promise, and now we're breaking that promise. I think they're going to do the right thing like they did in 2011 and again in 2015.
When do you think that these bills might get to the floor, might come up for actual votes?
I think they're going to come up for vote right after this September 11th, probably in early October, and I think it'll pass then. And I'm certainly going to fight to make sure it happens.
Is your sense, the two of you also, after the conversations you had, that...
I think so. I'm optimistic.
Currently, there's over 150 co-sponsors in the House, and then there's about 20-something co-sponsors within the Senate. And where it really is going to matter is the Senate. It would be nice to see at least 60 co-sponsors within the Senate. And the fact that it's not up there yet is why we have to go back.
You know, one advantage we have is we have so many clients, so many responders who now live in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, where they have all Republican senators. And basically, as Jon Stewart said, we need 11 more Republican senators to make this happen. And I'm going to use my clients who live in those states to be calling their legislators and say, hey, I'm a constituent. I need your help. This is not a New York issue.
Let me talk a little bit about, before we wrap up, about what you all are doing. And I know, Bridget, you've been working on a documentary.
Yes. Well, in short, it's like an elegy to my father, I felt, because the thing is with 9/11, especially for people like us, when our fathers came home, you know, we were the lucky ones. You have this issue of survivors turning into victims 2 decades later. So I didn't realize the extent of how bad it was until my father passed away, and then people started. I was thrown into a community I didn't necessarily want to be thrown into. And even there was somebody who visited my father when he was in the hospice who wasn't at the funeral, and when questioned about it, it was because he was in the hospice now. So it was just like they were, I don't want to say dropping like flies, but it was kind of devastating to think about that. So I just wanted to document this whole legal battle, the health crisis, what was done wrong, what should have been done, what did we learn from this. I just want to reshift the narrative a little bit, too, because it's not a question of what happened, it's what is happening.
And Rob, you've actually made a life decision in terms of what you're going to do with your life now.
Yeah, I mean, I took the fire department test, FDNY test, and I've already passed my written test and my physical test and medical test, and I'm set to maybe enter the fire department academy this summer. I
want to mention, by the way, you took the test, right?
Yeah.
But you also scored 18th out of 45,000.
Yeah, I got 18 out of 45,000. So, you know, it was a nice score, so I know that I should be able to get in there.
Were you inclined to do that before you lost your dad?
Originally, I was set to go to law school, which I still hope to fulfill. And, you know, I mean, with my father passing, I definitely would like to fill his shoes and just make him proud. So, you know, I'm now going to join the fire department, and it's something that I would like to do to, you know, fulfill and just to give back, you know. So.
Michael, come back to you in terms of how these have all played out. When you first got involved in this back then, would you ever have envisioned that nearly 20 years later we'd still be talking about how can we provide something to help the people who were, so many people who were victims of this horrible event?
Yeah, you know, honestly, I'm not really surprised. My law firm is 2 blocks away from the towers. I was there the day when the tower started coming down, and I'm one of those people that you see running uptown while the fire trucks are going downtown. And I'm covered in dust also. And so I'm not surprised because I know how deadly these toxins are. I've read Jimmy Zedroga's autopsy. I see the diagnoses every single day in my law firm.
We say this often, but not often enough. It's that your dads are the ones who run directly into the danger to make sure that the rest of us are safe. And I'm sure both of them would be extraordinarily proud of what the children are doing. In their minds. And Michael, you've done great work. There's so many people here. Hopefully, this is going to work, and perhaps we can get you all back in again.
We'll let you know.
Down the road.
Absolutely.
And we can have a conversation about where we go now to protect people.
Thank you.
But thank you all for everything that you're doing. It was a pleasure to meet you all. You all take care now.
Likewise.
Likewise.
And for you all to learn more about how you can help the 9/11 first responders, you can visit us at metrofocus.org.